When I talk to Dan, it's kind of, big picture. He's the big picture guy.
Yeah.
You and I can get more into like the nuts and bolts of arguably the most talked about topic in the entire dirt world.
Yes.
And it's not about building stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys full bore right now? How's the weather been?
It's been pretty good.
It's warmed up pretty good.
So basically our season starts April 1st. So, but everybody pretty much has already been working, but just kind of generally speaking, 1st of April, that's when it really kicks off.
You guys shut all your plants down, or a few run through the winter?
A few still run, but most of them are doing maintenance and stuff.
Yeah, sure. There's so much to do on those plants when they're down.
Yeah, we put in a new one. Basically, sold off all the nuts and bolts of one plant and brought in a new one.
Really?
And
like a new Aztec plant.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Those aren't cheap.
Yeah. No, $5, $10.
Yeah. But they also, once you get them dialed in, basically just print money.
Yes.
So
yes. So it's funny, we do so much in the dirt world, but if you ask Bob Matthews what kind of company we are, he said we're an asphalt company.
Sure.
Because a majority of our revenue comes from the black gold.
That's it. Yeah. If you're companies that are involved in any kind of materials are just so much more profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And then paving companies are substantially more profitable on average than just earth moving companies.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. Mm-hmm. And then when you are a paving company that has the plants, you have a kind of a moat around your business. Because if I want to start AW asphalt company and compete with CW Matthews down in Georgia, I'm likely going to have to buy from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just such smart business minds that we have, so it's, 9 times out of 10, if we don't win the bid, we look on the bid list. It's like, oh, but we still quoted asphalt to the person who did win. So hey, praise God. Win-win.
Yeah. You're in a unique role. Before we get into your role though, what is your background?
So there has been really 2 constants in my life. Jesus.
Okay.
And construction.
Well, those are 2 pretty solid foundations to build upon.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I first started off, and I've been in construction world for probably 25 years on the residential side of things, building houses, being a carpenter, trim carpenter. So, and that kind of morphed through the years. I went and got my teaching degree and actually started off teaching elementary PE.
No kidding.
And buckets of fun. Oh my goodness.
How old were you when you started teaching PE?
I was 23.
Oh, so that
dude, that would
be a good time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. Just thinking out of the box, because still today, I feel like I'm a 46-year-old, 12-year-old, and I hope I stay that way.
Sure.
Just having that childlikeness. And you would know this if you came and you saw my office. It's nothing but a life-size Mandalorian in this corner. We've got Marvel stuff all over the place. But
I have an aquarium at my desk and toys all over it.
Yes.
And everybody's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just I don't feel good when I go into an office." And I just said this on the pod, and it's just spotless.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's not even like a slinky anywhere to be found. Like, it's like, so what do you do? Do you just do business stuff? Do you just work all the time? Like, this isn't fun. Where's the toys?
Yes. So yeah, when you first walk into my office, I've got this Coke can that looks like it's all spilled out. It looks like it's like the Coke is like spilled and solidified, and it's so legit. So when people walk in and it's right there, and I put it on top of some important papers. So they think it's like, oh no, what did you do? And then they pick it up, and then on the bottom of it says, gotcha.
I need one of those. I do. Construction offices are usually pretty cool though, because there's usually scale models. I remember one, we've been raising money, and so I went into this investment meeting, and it's an investment meeting. You're there to try to get some money.
Yeah.
And it's a big, important meeting, and you're meeting somebody you've met before, and it's a big company, and they have this big reputation, and I've worked years to just get into this office. And you walk in, and the whole wall is scale models. And you're supposed to have a serious conversation while you're sitting like 3 feet away from all of these really cool models that you just want to look at. And so the whole conversation is like, no, don't focus. Like, focus on what you're supposed to do here. And then finally, once you can get the business on, you're like, oh, okay, I can just go look at these models now.
Can I play with that?
Yeah. So you started PE.
Yes. And then from there, I was building houses on the side. And one of my good friends, who was actually the drummer in my Christian rock band that I was in, he was a home builder. And so he talked me into coming out of education to build houses with him. So I did that. And just through the course of events, I mean, just God's hand was just really on this, right before the collapse of the 2008, the housing market and everything. Yeah. God told me it was time to go, time to step out of that. And they were like, what are you doing? Because the owner of the company was about to retire and split up the company between us 5 superintendents. And I was going to be instantly rich. Sure. And because he was buying the properties and all I had to do was just build it and sell it. And I was like, well, I know how to do that. But the Lord said, no, it's time to go. And so I went to the owner and told him that, I really feel the Lord wants me to go and go in this other direction. And he loves Jesus, and it's just a great man, still is. And he's like, "You sure? You sure you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Man, I gotta be obedient to what the Lord's calling me to do." And 6 months later,
so what are the mechanics of that? How do you have that feeling of like, I gotta go?
Well, it actually came from. I was at a worship leaders conference up in Colorado, and during this event, at the end of it, we're about to get on the plane to come back, and we're having the final worship time at this church, and the pastor said, "Hey, I feel that there's some out here that I've considered going towards full-time ministry, but have never taken that step. And I think there's some of you out here that want to do that. And if that's you, come on forward, and we want to pray for you." And I could just feel God just pulling me. And I'm like, no, on the inside, I was like, the same thing that I prayed when I gave my life to him probably 7 years prior. I told God the same thing. I said, God, if you want me to go in this direction, you're going to have to physically bring somebody over here to take me down there to the front, because I'm too chicken and I can't do it. 10 seconds later, I got a tap on my shoulder, and it was this pastor from Maine. Comes over to me and says, "Hey, dude, God just told me to come over here and get you and take you down to the front to be prayed for." I'm like, oh, all right, I'm coming. And so that began my journey of walking with the mindset of full-time ministry. So leaving the home building business was the mindset, okay, I'm going to go towards being a youth pastor, being a music pastor. And, but I'm not going to do it the way that the world works. I'm not going to throw out my resume. I'm not going to, try to network and, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
You want to see my albums?
Fun youth pastor.
Yeah. So that's when I went back to work and I said, hey, I got to take this step. And when I took that step, I ended up working, going back into teaching elementary PE until I said, I'm going to wait for you, Lord, to open the door for me to step into full-time ministry. So, me and my wife were at a wing place eating dinner, and this guy just comes by our table and said, hey man, we're starting a new church plant local, this area over here. If y'all don't have a church home, come check us out. And I said, well, actually, I'm the worship pastor here at this church down here. And we started a conversation. It was a volunteer position. He said, hey man, why don't you come and lead some worship for us? And so I went, did that. Long story short, ended up being the full-time worship and youth pastor at that church.
The Lord always works his magic at wing places.
Yes. I mean, there's power in wings. I mean, come on. Especially boneless wings, because I don't do regular wings. I don't like getting my hands dirty. Yeah. But
so then full-time into ministry.
Full-time into ministry. And man, just God doing miraculous things. That's what the word is about. In Mark 16, the Lord works with you to confirm the word with signs that follow. It's about the word. It's not about the signs and wonders. It's about the people coming to know Him, and through that, God does those things because we're going to be dust one day. So
was when you told your wife, hey, I'm going to get out of home building, I'm going to go be a PE teacher again. Was there a little bit of like, are you sure about that? And then was there a little 6 months later, like, see, or was it all just like, no, just do whatever you want?
No, it's my wife is so amazing, such a godly woman, and everything that we've done, we've done together. And in my walk with Jesus and adulthood, did I get it all right and do it all exactly the right way? No. Is it even through all the Christian music and the touring and all that, is it a miracle that my wife stayed with me through all that? Absolutely.
Sure.
But we've tried really hard to be lockstep, going in the same direction, and doing this life together. So,
gotcha. It's going to be a miracle if I find a wife in general.
Yeah.
At this
oh shoot!
But so you're in ministry.
Yeah.
How do you wind up back in construction, and let alone road construction?
That's a great question. So basically, after a few years in full-time ministry, I began to do some more soul searching. It's like, okay, I get to see these students on Wednesdays and Sundays, and then during the rest of the week, I'm in an office, and the more and more I thought about it, I was like, God, are you getting the highest kingdom return for what you've given me? And having the greatest impact on students' lives. And so the more and more I prayed into that, God began to refine that vision in my heart of that full-time ministry, thinking that when I first got that call, I'm like, that meant I got to get my paycheck from a church. And I was like, whoa, who told you that, Jeremy? Who told you that? I'm like, oh, me. I guess I did. And so really felt the Lord lead me back into education. because of the number of students that I could have an impact on and help guide them in their future. And I felt like it was going to be the highest kingdom return, like I said, for what God has given me. So through a course of events, took another step of faith. Just took a step of faith right out of full-time ministry and really didn't have anything to do, but once again, knew that that's what God wanted us to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started another construction company, residential.
Like just home building?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I waited.
Huh.
And I waited for God to open the door for me to get back into teaching. And this opportunity at this high school, it's Kennesaw Mountain High School in Kennesaw, Georgia. My wife's best friend, her brother-in-law is the assistant principal at this school. And my wife's best friend knew that I have a construction background. And she heard, through a family event that they were going to hire a construction teacher, they were going to start a new program. And so said, you need to put your application in for that. I'm like, okay, I will. And I was actually in Nebraska at the time when they called me doing some construction. And they said, yeah, we'd like for you to come in for an interview. I'm like, okay. So I go in and interview for this position, and turns out that they had already offered the position to somebody else. But the assistant principal and the principal, that after they talked to me, they both went home that night and they prayed. And they asked the Lord, all right, what should we do? Which one of these guys? And they're like, we need this Whitaker guy. And so they had to do the call to the other dude, say, sorry, we're giving it to somebody else. And so I was started that program from scratch and was there 7 years.
Wow.
And so bringing in C.W. Matthews. So throughout my teaching career there, about 10 minutes down the road is a little tiny company called C.W. Matthews.
Sure.
And so they were my number one industry partner. And so whenever I needed anything, because in public high school education, to principals, there's two things that matter: academics and athletics. Everything else it's not really a priority, especially construction. And because ever since George W. Bush did the No Child Left Behind garbage, going into a trade instead of going to college, there's been this push. You're a loser. You are a stinking loser if you don't go to college because, hey, you got to go. There's no child left. We're not going to leave anybody behind. It's all whatever.
So is that what that was about, to get every kid through higher education, essentially?
Yeah, and kick vocational education out the door.
Sure.
Because my dad was a principal and he was the vocational director for our county, Fayette County, and where I grew up. And it was, I remember growing up in the construction, the automotive, and the culinary arts, and all these things were just booming. And then the No Child Left Behind, and then vocational.
Well, that and the federal student loan tap being turned on, and then them just like forgetting where the thing was, and then they just like lob it off. So now it's just like pouring out, and the money's everywhere, and it's not going. You don't put the cat back in the bag. So now you have that plus free money. For anybody, to the tune of trillions of dollars. What do you think is going to happen? Here we are. Exactly.
So that's one of my missions, is to champion that message that if a student wants to enter the dirt world, into the trades, you are not a loser. And let me give you some examples.
Well, there's a long list.
Yeah.
Before we get into CW
Yeah.
Matthews and what you're doing now, how do you go build a high school program about construction?
Yeah.
What does that even look like? Because I have no idea.
Yes. So basically, this is so super cool. Cobb County, the school system that I taught in, they were not going to actually fund the construction program. An outside industry person who's a graduate of North Cobb High School, he owns a plumbing company called Superior Plumbing, Jay Cunningham, very successful in the state of Georgia. He funded my position for the first couple of years because he's like, we've got to get construction education back.
Sure.
So once they saw that students wanted it and it was growing, it was booming, then the school system took it over. So to start, it's basically we used a curriculum called NCCER.
Yeah.
And basically we chose, because I'm a carpenter, a carpentry pathway. So it's a 3-course pathway is what schools in Georgia do. They start off with industry fundamentals, where they do the hand tools and power tools, blueprint reading, things like that.
Yeah.
The second class, they're doing a little bit of carpentry, electrical, masonry, and plumbing. And then the third class is where they specialize in one of those 4, which is carpentry.
So, me as a sophomore in high school, or freshman, do I sign up? Is that one of my electives?
Absolutely.
So then I take the level 1 for my first year. Is it 3 years?
If it's a 7-period-a-day school,
Yes.
that would be 3 years.
Okay.
If it's a block schedule, you can do all 3 classes in a year and a half.
Oh, interesting.
So,
but you started. They hired you on, but it was a blank slate.
yeah.
There was no existing program.
No, not at Kennesaw Mountain, no.
Okay. And so how do you go out and create this? You get the curriculum from NCCER. How do you get kids in and interested?
It's, if you are a construction teacher, you're not just a teacher, construction teacher, you're a marketing teacher.
Yeah.
You're a recruiter.
Yeah.
And
Your
because,
safety manager.
yeah, exactly. Yes, absolutely. So, because no one's going to toot your horn for you, and if no students take your class, you're out of a job. It's not like math or English where, man, I hate English. English sucks, but I got to take it for graduation. So you could be the biggest Turd Ferguson teacher in the world and still keep your job.
Sure.
But in CTAE, Career Technical Agriculture Education, as an elective class, it's got to rock or you're out the door.
Yeah.
And they'll close it down. And it's like, oh man, we can use that for another math class, and so basically from the get-go, finding young people that are successful in an internship or coming out of high school and working for an employer that's a local employer. And I mean, blasting it, making posters, social media, all of this to show young people, hey, you see this guy here? Look what how many days of college this joker's had? A whole lot of goose egg.
So you use successful examples from the industry
Yes.
of people that are relatable to them.
Yes.
Similar in age, a little further along. As kind of the bait to get them on the hook.
Absolutely. Because, it's the biblical principle. Without vision, my people perish. If they don't know what the goal is, they don't know what's possible. Knowledge is power. If they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the power to make the best decision for their life because they don't even know it's there.
Sure.
So we got to take a Jonathan Eller, someone who came right from my construction program at Kennesaw Mountain, right into C.W. Matthews. And only 3 years later, he is a foreman for one of the largest construction companies in the country. As a 21-year-old, making much more than the average college grad with zero debt, in charge of people twice his age, and in charge of multi-million-dollar jobs.
Sure.
But to tell them, hey, you can't be a Turd Ferguson and become a John Eller.
Sure. Yeah.
You've got to come to the table with what I call the big three, which is big three is more important than a college degree. A poet didn't know it. So attitude, you got to have a great attitude. Attitude's everything. I tell young people about how I fired a young dude before just because he had a terrible attitude. He did his job. A, B, and C, you're going to do this. Yeah. But you come to this position with such a bad attitude, even after we had a little coaching assessment with him, say, hey, man, this is toxic. This is toxic to the work environment, man. Here's why. And he still didn't fix it. So I said, we got to let you go. And that really opens young people's eyes to see, hey, your teacher and your mom and your dad, they're all saying your attitude is important. Okay, take it from somebody who's hired a couple hundred people in the last 4 years and fires people. Take it from this guy who's going to, even if it's not me, somebody like me, you're going to have to come through somebody like me to get the career that you want.
Sure. And
attitude is indeed everything. If you got a bad attitude, I tell them, I'm sorry, I don't want you. You could be the best excavator operator on planet Earth. I mean, it's like, but I love this term, Turd Ferguson. If you're a Turd Ferguson.
It's a great term.
It is.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, you need, yeah. Everyone listening needs to check that out.
I'll file that away.
Yeah. Yes. But, so attitude, work ethic, and a teachable spirit. If you're hungry to learn and you're a hard worker, you're the first one there, last one to leave, you give 100% all day. Trying to get that message out. Okay, if you want to be the new John Eller, the next guy that's posted on our posters around the state and on all our marketing and stuff, okay, you've got to have the big three.
Interesting thing enough about those three, I've been fortunate enough to work with a guy called Rich Davini, and he was in a former military, former SEAL in recruiting, and he was in the highest level of recruiting, and they would wash people out of the program. It still had 50% attrition, and these were the best, some of the best in the entire military, and they needed a way to figure out how to explain it, because not only to the people they were washing out, but to their bosses that were saying, "Hey, you're washing out too many," and they're like, "No, we're not. We're doing what we need to do," but they needed to justify it. So we ended up coming up with something called and defined, attributes. So there's skills and attributes. Skills are, being an excavator operator, knowing how to operate an excavator. Attributes are they're just there or they're not. And I don't know if this fits perfectly into his framework, but I view those more as attributes, not skills. Anybody can have those three things. I don't need any kind of experience whatsoever when I show up to you to have all three of those things. It doesn't matter where I'm coming from. It doesn't matter what I know. Anybody can have that, which is pretty amazing. I think some of those things still are learned. I don't necessarily think that if you don't have work ethic as a 5-year-old, you're screwed. Like you either have it or you don't. I don't buy into that one bit. But anybody 16, 18 years old, that's all you need. Everything else falls into place if you have those three things.
That's it. And then we, through the relationships that we have with the teachers, that's the final frontier. If they interview with us and they show, I can kind of see that they meet those three criteria, then I call the teacher, say, hey, tell me about this guy or this gal. and you're the one that's with them every day. You see their work ethic. You see how they are in leading your crews in the shop and how they do with safety. And are you having to tell them to get off their phone 5 times a class? Are they respectful? Do they honor your authority?
So you're coming at it now from the other perspective, because you're essentially hiring these kids. And so you now go to the teacher in the program you used to lead, build, because they know best.
Yes. And telling these kids, it's like, hey, there's one person, if you want to come to our industry, there's one person you need to impress. And that's that teacher that's sitting right over there at his desk listening to what I'm saying right now. Yeah. Because he's going to be, or she's going to be the determining factor. Because if she tells me or he tells me that you dishonor him or her and disrespect her, or you're on your phone all the time, conversation's over. You will not have a career with C.W. Matthews.
Yeah. And the funny thing about high school kids too is there's this, oftentimes this overconfidence, this arrogance that you can get away with it.
Yeah.
But now, especially from my perspective, you look at these kids, you're like, you look like such an idiot. Like you have no idea you look like such an idiot. Your teacher, most of them, there's plenty of bad teachers out there.
Yeah.
Most of them though, they know what the heck's going on. This is making me think about stuff I haven't thought about in a long time. So when I went to high school, I was in a private school from kindergarten to 8th grade. I get to 8th grade, and I look at our private school had a high school, but I look at it and it just didn't feel right. And it was going to be with the same group of kids I was with my entire life, and 50 kids, and then they groom you to go to some stupid cool school like I don't know, like Columbia or something like that. And oh wow, you did it, and that's success. And it just didn't feel right. And then I toured a school, an all boys school, another private school, because that was kind of the second option. And it just didn't do it for me either. So I ended up going to a public school, and it was still, most everybody was well off at the public school, but it was still very much a public school. I go from 50 kids in my class my entire life to 500 kids. And it's a different ball game. And everybody had grown up with one another. And then I just show up. I'm one of the very few that just came out of left field. And we had to take a art class, or you had to fulfill this one requirement, whatever it is. And you got like 3 choices. You didn't get a whole lot of choices, but one of them was like film, something along those lines. Another one was like an art class where you can go make some pottery and that kind of stuff. And then the last one was technical theater, which was kind of the outcast. But I did technical theater because I didn't care about plays or any of that. I like none of that excited me whatsoever. But technical theater had a lot of freedom. And they had power tools because we got to build these sets with 2x4s and all kinds of fun stuff. And so I did that for a few years. And it was probably one of the only classes at that school that gave kids substantial freedom. And the reason why was because the teacher, we had more square footage than anybody. And so we had the entire auditorium, and then we had the entire stage. And then we had the shop behind the stage. And then we had the classroom behind that. And then the teacher had an office. So if the teacher was in the office and you were up on the scaffolding over working on some lighting, you're way, way outside of their periphery, whatever it is. And which gave a lot of kids enough rope to hang themselves. And you got to see really quickly who was who, who the turds were and who weren't.
Yes.
And it was kind of up to you. Like it was up to you what you were going to make of it. And it was fascinating to see because you go to math class, you can't get away with a lot.
Yeah.
And you're in a small space and there's 30 kids on top of each other and the teacher's right there. you kind of know who's who, but you can't really tell who's who. But in a setting like that, or a shop class, construction, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
You figure out pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if we have, let's say in that class, I've got an intern that's working for us and just a rock star. And 2 of the guys from the class apply. I'm going to go to my rock star intern and say, hey, tell me about Timmy and Jimmy over here. What? Give me your 2 cents. And they say, well, Timmy, yeah, he's good. Jimmy, no, not even close. Yeah, he's so lazy. Yeah. He's this or that.
He chased me with a hammer every day.
Yes. And so that's the key word, man. I'm telling you, when it comes to education, to recruiting, to building that talent pipeline, it's relationships, and it takes time, effort, and most importantly, it takes a love for young people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Are there, when you were teaching, were there some diamonds in the rough?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And somebody that's kind of a punk, but you want to bring them in. And...
Oh, man. I was the teacher that if they were the scariest, the better.
Ah, nice.
Like I remember one kid came in with an ankle monitor. He was on parole or for something.
Sure.
And so all the teachers are standing at our doors and like, well, I hope you don't get so-and-so. Oh, I hope I don't get so-and-so. And then they get the list and I said, oh, they're like, phew, Whitaker's got him. And I'm like, yes. And they're like, what are you doing? What? He's a criminal. He's this and that. I was like, because there's a chance. There's a chance for this kid. I'm going to give it to him.
Sure.
And so the opportunity to just, okay, yeah, what you did yesterday or what you even did this morning. Hey, when you're in here, it's a clean slate. And a lot of kids would come in like, oh, I've got this prestigious background of I'm the quarterback of the football team. I don't care what you do. I only know what you show. And so when I get students like that, I get so excited, and I get so broken when an administrator would have to come and take them out because of they made a mistake in this other class and they're on a short lease, so they get kicked out real quick. And I'm like, but that comes from a heart of love for young people. And that's one of the things that kind of hurts my heart a little bit when being a part of education all over the state now and seeing certain things that are happening. And I'm like, what? When something goes wrong, I'm like, what just happened here? What about this was in the best interest of students? What just happened? This was all political. This was all fill in the blank. It was something different than helping these young people reach a career in something they love.
Sure.
So it all comes to finding the right relationships and the right teachers that are going to be a champion for the students. And that's what we're looking for with this new heavy equipment program that we started.
After 7 years of this program.
Yeah.
What progress did you make?
We had more students coming out of our program into the industry than I think any program in the state. One of the things that we started too was a career signing day.
Ah, yeah. I've heard about this.
Yes. Yeah. So this was, oh goodness, I guess it was probably 11 or 12 years ago now. And so that just came out of me getting tired of just the college and athlete students getting celebrated at graduation and these young people that are starting their careers right out of high school are just getting forgotten. I'm like, that's enough. We need to celebrate these young people that are making a very grown-up adult decision at such a young age. And so we've kind of started that, and now it's kind of making its way around the country, and lots of schools and organizations are doing the signing day. So all glory to Jesus. But
so it'll be like a signing day, like CW Matthews is hiring these kids.
Yeah.
So hey, I'm signing with CW Matthews. Instead of I'm signing to go to Georgia to play football.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we make a big ceremony, bring their parents, friends, principals, teachers. Of course, we have all the CW Matthews leadership there. And so we take a few minutes, recognize each person, tell a little bit of their story, throw some pictures up of them in action. Because most of these young people that we're signing are coming from our internship program. So they're already working for us.
Sure.
And so then we invite them up to the stage, and we have the table all set up with their commitment, career commitment. It's nothing. It's not like you're signing in blood or anything. It's like something I can hold over you, but it's just a ceremony to honor their decision.
Sure.
So they have their parent or at the table with them, and the VP of that division they're going to, and they sign, and then they stand up and they're shaking hands with the VP and pictures and with the parents, and then we just go through one student at a time, and it's special.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, we had the signing day for the kids going to school to play sports, and good for them. That's cool. They worked hard to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But it is funny. I'm 28 years old now, so I have 10 years of data.
Yeah.
And I every once in a while, you just get on Instagram and I wonder where this guy went. I wonder where this girl went. And you look and you're like, oh, huh. It's so funny how like every human being desires recognition so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants recognition. And a lot of people play cool. No, don't. I don't want this. I don't want that. Oh, but no. I hate my birthday, or don't take my pic. But everybody really, deep down, it might not be your birthday, but wants to be recognized somehow. And just throwing people a bone like that, it goes a long way. And even as an 18-year-old meeting like the vice president of the company, or like Dan Garcia, it's like, this is big time, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this is the boss. Like, this is the guy right here.
Yeah.
And he's here shaking my hand, taking a picture with me. That's pretty crazy.
I think the key word is honor. I mean, when you honor somebody for their efforts, what they've done, and understand that they're not just some chump off the street that's getting this opportunity. They've gone through it. Most of them have gone through an internship, and they've earned it. And they've shown that they bleed yellow and black, and they're ready to go. So
how many kids come out of the program every year?
Probably right now, around 20.
Okay. That's quite a few.
So, yeah.
And at a certain point, CW Matthews is your kind of go-to industry sponsor, which I understand the value of that, especially with the training we've done. Mm-hmm. I think you've been involved in it somewhat. Mm-hmm. CW Matthews certainly has. We just did the paving course with you guys. Yeah. It's a blessing to have companies that are as open as CW Matthews, that are just like, come on down, just let us know what you need. Because so many other companies are just like, kick rocks.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
You wanna visit our job site? What? No, absolutely not. It's so standoffish. And I'm like, and especially some specific companies, is like, I don't think you have a bigger fan than me. I love what you guys do. I just want to see it. Why are you being such an asshole.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You don't need to be like this.
Yes.
But you get a group like C.W. Matthews that's just so helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And you're ultimately trying to accomplish the same thing. So the value of that, I can certainly appreciate.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, C.W. Matthews is like, hey, or are you like C.W. Matthews? How does that come about? And how do you eventually transition to working in private sector again?
Me personally?
Yeah. How'd you get a job with C.W. Matthews?
How did I get here?
Yeah.
Oh, such a great God story.
I figured God had something to do
Yes,
with it.
of course. Of course.
Here. Yeah.
Following the breadcrumbs
I figured he had his hand somewhere. Yeah.
So, long story short, I think it was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving break. And my mom called and said, hey, I just enjoyed having Thanksgiving lunch with your daughter. At the time, she was, I think, in second grade. I'm like, I didn't know she had a Thanksgiving lunch at school today. And I almost started, and I just saw that text. I was standing in front of my class, and I about started crying right then and there, because I work so far away from where I live. It's about an hour drive. So being a part of my kids' schooling experience was never a possibility for me. And I saw that, and I almost started just crying, and I held off till I got in the truck to drive home. And I just wept. I mean, boo-hooed for like, it was a long drive, bad traffic, 2-hour drive that day. I mean, and just crying out to the Lord, just saying, basically, I love what I do. I love teaching. I love these students, but I want to be more involved in my own kids' lives, because they're growing up. And it's like, Lord, show me if there's something I'm doing wrong. Open a door, do something, Lord. I need your help. The next morning, C.W. Matthews is there to speak to my class. And there was a gentleman who was in this role that I'm in. And I remember walking in the back door. I mean, because I was crying the whole way up, because real men cry. And I think they're Tim McGraw song anyway. Right? But and this gentleman Jeff, he said, "Hey, before we get started setting up everything, I got a crazy question to ask you." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, what you got?" And he says, I'm moving on to a different role in the company, but Ray and I were talking about who we think should take my spot. We both think it's you. And about then, I almost just passed out. I mean, I'm like, okay, Lord, now you're just showing off there. So, but then I'm like, but yeah, let's talk. And so went and talked with Ray and Michael Bell and leadership, and just kind of getting their vision for what they saw me doing and how much they wanted me to join the family.
Sure.
I'm just like, wow. So we took a few weeks to really pray and to seek the Lord and to see if this is exactly what God has for us. And we came out of that and with a full confirmation that this was the right path for me and my family. And I haven't regretted it a day.
What's the role exactly?
So basically, I am the Director of Training and Recruitment. So I basically, the recruiting is my number one task of setting up sustainable talent pipelines throughout the state of Georgia where we have consistent work. So it always kind of breaks my heart when I have these schools reach out from different areas of the state that we don't have work.
Sure.
They want us to partner with them. I'm like, I really want to, but I'm sorry. We don't do work in your area of the state. So, but hey, let me connect you with this other company that might be able to help you. And
is it just recruiting for young people, or are you recruiting across the board?
Mostly what we do, what I'm doing is the high school,
Sure,
college, and we spend a lot of time in elementary school and middle schools, planting those seeds is kind of our roots to fruits.
Yeah.
Education initiative.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
how you go to these schools with these construction programs.
Mm-hmm.
And you give these kids internships,
mm-hmm.
and then you hire them on and bring them along as they develop themselves in their career.
Yeah.
And ideally lead them into wherever they want to go within the business.
Wherever they want. That was the initial vision when I first started, just focus on construction programs.
Mm-hmm.
But realizing there's over 800 high schools in Georgia and only a little over 100 construction programs.
That's a lot more than I thought there would be, though.
So
that's still quite a few.
Yeah. Blessed, thankful for that.
Sure.
But as we would go to these different areas, man, I need work. I need pipelines in this area of the state, but there's no construction. So what I've been focusing on with those schools is their work-based learning coordinators, getting a relationship with them. Because even if you don't have a construction program, I know there's some kids in this school that want to play in the dirt and make buckets of money.
Absolutely.
And so that's been our kind of our next level tactics of work-based learning and school counselors, because they're the ones that are sitting down with each high school student, planning out their schedule, or what path are you going on, what classes you need to take for graduation, So, been in a lot of time, sponsoring counselors events, statewide events or work-based learning coordinator events, so we can get there. And it is so funny. We'll go to these counseling events and I'll set up my simulator and have all my C.W. Matthews stuff set up. And I mean, just huge conference hall. And we're like the only employer in there. And all the other tables are like curriculum for behavior and, curriculum for this and that, and counseling resources, and then C.W. Matthews. And they're like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And
just flexing on everybody else.
That's it. Yeah. And I look right at them in the eyes and I say, I'm here to meet you. And to build a relationship, to show you what we at C.W. Matthews and our industry can offer your students.
So first and foremost, you have to get to the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Because they're essentially the gatekeepers. They're the intermediary between you and your target demographic.
Yes.
The kids.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And knowing who to talk to and who not to waste your time with.
Yeah. I feel like those were my counselors.
Yeah. Same here, brother.
Not very
Same
helpful.
here. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Not a good experience myself.
So, how many kids has C.W. Matthews brought in to the business? It's been
I've been there almost 4 years, and it's been close to a couple hundred so far.
A couple hundred.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Praise God.
That's amazing. So what do these kids want? Because word on the street is that kids suck. They're just lazy. They're entitled. They don't want to work. They just want to sit on their phones all day.
Yeah.
So, but you have a few hundred of them working at the business in all different areas now. So, how do you connect those dots?
Relationships. Getting in the classroom. Career fairs and all of that kind of stuff. Do we do those things? Yeah. Do they bring some fruit? Yeah. The main fruit comes from you being in front of that captive audience of 25 students for the whole class period and saying, hey, let me open your eyes about what we do. Let's do a hands-on kind of fun thing. And then they see it's cool. And then throughout time, I say, hey, this is what we're looking for. These students, I'm not trying to dishonor or disrespect anybody in the classroom, but there's certain people that have been on their phone the entire time when I've been here. I'm not going to hire you. You have no hope of getting an internship with me.
Damn.
Yeah, because first impressions are powerful. And when I say things like that, a lot of them just pick up and they put their phone down and they look like little choir boys for the rest of the time. I'm like, okay, now because like you said before, they can learn. They can learn what work ethic is. And that's the importance of a teacher, of a good teacher that can show them and building that relationship so they know what I'm about. They know what C.W. Matthews is about. And they understand that we don't become the best in our industry because we hire a bunch of turd Fergusons.
Sure.
No, we hire rock stars, and we're looking for the best of the best, and setting that bar high. And nothing gets under my skin more than when I'm at a career fair and a counselor comes by and says, yeah, I've got this one student, and I think the only thing he's going to be able to do is work for a company like you. And I just have to start praying right then. I'm just like, but see, that's our problem. It's a branding issue from counselors, from the school administration, from teachers, making students feel like they're second-class citizens. If they choose a career that's apart from the Ivy Leagues and Harvard and all of that jazz. Yeah. So it's so getting in there, building that relationship and saying, here's what we're looking for, here's what we're not looking for. And so that when I see a kid who applies from this school that I've already been at, a couple times this year, I say, oh yeah, that's the kid who was on his phone. Crumble up that resume, T-rash.
I feel like a lot of companies, they get frustrated because they're like, so what do we do? Just coddle them? Just all right, so I guess we have to implement nap time at our business to attract these kids.
Yeah.
And instead, you essentially challenge them.
That's right.
Which is very powerful. It's far more in line with human nature because, again, we like to be recognized. We like to prove people wrong. We do like to work hard. I do think that's inherent because our survival depended on it. We couldn't just be... Laziness is a funny thing. If we just sat around, we would die. But we didn't want to do more than we needed to and waste additional energy because we would also die. So we like to seek the path of least resistance. But society is so comfortable now that that's typically all we do.
Yeah.
But that's not what people fundamentally want to do, I feel like.
True.
So you go in there and you challenge these kids.
That's right.
And hey, are you worthy or not? And those that are worthy will have a shot at this. But those that aren't, I'm not interested. And to me as a kid, that would wake my ass up. I'd be like, check.
Yeah.
Say no more. All right. Yeah. You don't think I'm worthy? I'm going to prove you wrong.
We have to fight what I call the accommodation generation. That is what I see in education. Okay, now are some of the accommodations that students get in school appropriate? They need these accommodations? Absolutely. You need some extra time. You need whatever that accommodation is. From my 15 years as an educator experience, I see a higher percentage of those that are, you're just stinking lazy. And you're making excuses about, because you hate school, you hate this teacher, you're not wanting to put the effort in. So because everything in school is data-driven instruction, and so you've got to make the grades. So we've got to accommodate. these students so that they can make that grade. But what at the end of the
test
day,
scores.
Yeah. Well, what does it even mean? What does that grade mean? Okay, you just gave. It should have taken him 5 minutes. You gave him 2 hours to do it, and he still failed it because he doesn't care. Because you haven't reached his heart. You haven't found the right brush or the right broom to sweep him into learning the way he wants to learn. Mm-hmm. It's so amazing to see students that would just, F students across the board. They hated school, but then they'd come into construction and I'd put a hammer in their hand and they'd build and they get encouraged and they get honored and they get recognized for doing something well. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Their English grade starts going up. Their math grade starts going up. Whoa. And they were in the in-school suspension almost weekly. Now they haven't been there in months.
Yeah, I'm reading a book right now about this famous restaurateur, and he says in hospitality, one size fits one. And I feel like education is it's just human beings in general, but education is the same way. One size fits one. And everybody is just a little different. Mm-hmm. But I've seen mechanics to me are just, it's just so far beyond my comprehension. I don't know how the hell they do it. I have no idea how they do it. I could not even, I'm not even remotely, like I look at lawyers, I'm like, I could figure your job out. Yeah. But a mechanic, I'm like, no way, dude. And so some of these guys, some of these women, whatever it is, they probably couldn't read a book cover to cover. But they can change out the engine on a 988 loader without even thinking twice. Like, how do you do that? It's just a different kind of just brilliance that has nothing to do with the education system. No. It would never show up in typical coursework, but is not just a valuable career from a financial standpoint, but a career that keeps all of the other careers moving right along and as comfortable as they are. And even viable. Yeah. Once these kids are in, because that's half the battle, or maybe even not half. I don't even know what percentage of the battle that is. You get them in. What do you do to keep these kids within the business? Yeah. Because when I talk, it's kids, people under the age of 25. It's almost 70% turnover in the construction industry. They come right in and then they bounce right back out. We have a terrible turnover problem as an industry. And if we just focused our effort there first, we would have to recruit a lot less people. So we need about 500,000 workers right now as a construction industry as a whole. I saw this morning, I need to double check the number, but we published over 700,000 people left the industry last year. So if my math is correct, if we were to focus there and stop most of that, we wouldn't have a deficit. That's right. So what do you have to do with these kids once they're in the door? And how do you bring them along?
So one of the things to start off with is to make sure you're placing them with foremen, with superintendents that understand, okay, you're not getting a finished operator. You're not getting a seasoned paver operator. You're not, okay, this is a kid.
Yeah, they're more of a liability at that point.
Yeah, exactly. You're just trying to open their eyes, inspire them. Got to understand that, okay, are they going to bring a lot of value to the crew day one or even day 90? Maybe not. But it's about exposing them to our industry to see if they dig us and if we dig them. And because our retention rate doubles when we have an intern. If I just hire a young person off the street, they graduate high school, C.W. Matthews sounds like a good call. And I hire them on, and they see the pitch, they see the website, they see kind of the vision. I dig that.
The really good looking website.
Exactly. It's very tasty. Very tasty. But But if I have a student that's done a summer internship or work-based learning, the retention rate doubles because they've looked under the rock. Because our industry is so unique. It's, most kids, if they come from construction, they're coming from, my dad does drywall or my dad does tile or this, that. Man, building roads is totally different.
Sure.
And they've got to be able to see that before they make that choice after graduation. So, so finding, have we gotten it right every time? No. Have we put young people with wrong foremen before? Yeah.
Yeah.
We have.
Yeah.
Have they left us? Yeah.
Sure.
Because maybe this foreman is old school and they're former military, and the way they talk to all the other people on the crew is an F-bomb every 3 seconds. You're an effing this, you're messing this stuff up. Da, 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 da. And these kids are like, okay, wait a minute. This is not how I feel like I should be communicated to, and that's true.
Sure. And some will do well too. Like I grew up around some of those guys. It's like I need a little bit of this right now. I need to get told to go screw myself every once in a while.
Exactly.
How do you? So one, the internships are not just for kids in college. I can be a high schooler, an intern at CW Matthews.
Yes, that's the meat and potatoes right there.
That's brilliant. That's big time. And that's where I think our hiring, we've done really well hiring, which I say in a surprised way because we don't know what we're doing. But I think a lot of it is due to we try a majority of people out before we bring them on full time.
Okay.
And so we give them real world work in a lot of ways. Like if I'm going to bring you on as a videographer, ideally I have you out on a trip. I pay you as a contractor to just see if you jive with me, I jive with you. And then, this guy, great. I hire him on. Sometimes, like you said, it's still wrong, but we've rooted a lot of problems out in that period. And so you can do that with people as a contractor.
That's it.
Pretty effectively.
Yes. It's that taste and see.
Yeah.
That CW Matthews is good.
How do you did you, when the program was getting going, did you work first with the foremen that were more receptive to it and then kind of massaged it in the organization from there?
Yeah. It's when we first started this, we really didn't know who were going to be the rock star foremen, superintendents. We're just like, all right, I've got this kid is in this area, wants to do this thing. Here's the crew. Here and this is another thing for the hiring process is try to get the foreman involved in the hiring process so I'm not just taking Timmy here and saying, all right, Foreman Joe, take Timmy. Because then it's like, okay, there is like, oh, this person, Jeremy, you gave me, they're a piece of crap. I don't want anymore. And we've had some foremen like that, when they get somebody that they've met but they're the old school mentality and they'll say, okay, that this person didn't work out. And I'll say, hey, you want us to find you somebody else? And they'll be like, we don't want any more of those kids that you can give us. I need a man to do this work. And I'm like, what? So from there, with that particular foreman, he's no longer with the company, by the way. And I was like, okay, it's that biblical principle. You pour into those who respond. If they're not responding, they don't want what you have to give them. It's like, okay, there's a lot of people over here and over here that want this new uprising talent. And so the ones that respond, like our first division that really took us on was our asphalt plant division, and they're still rocking and rolling because the VP Lee Smith, he is like, hey, I want him. Out of our 27 asphalt plants, I'll take one at every one of them.
You guys have 27 plants?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So and understand there's going to be some turds in there. There's going to be some rock stars, but there's going to be some turds.
Yeah.
But seeing the value of raising up these young people is, and then while they're here, we just from time to time just touching base with them. Hey, how you doing? Maybe it's a text message. Maybe it's going by their job site and just say, hey, how you doing? What kind of equipment are you on now? How's the family? How's Sally? How's your girlfriend doing? This it's relational. Anything that you can do to make these young people not feel like a number and make them feel like family, your retention rate's going to go way up.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talk on this, which I'm happy about, but it's first, you got to meet just basic needs, pay, benefits. You got to check that box.
Yeah.
Especially if they have a family at home. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much purpose you're giving me. If I can't feed my family, I'm out, dude. I'm down the road. But then it's, how do I just recognize people? How do I give them some recognition and make them feel like they're part of something greater than just themselves? That's huge. And I've seen that in action because I went out with Dan Garcia. Who's the VP on the bridge side or road side?
On the road, Frank?
Oh, I don't
Kevin?
know.
On the roadway side?
Yeah. He went out with us.
Frank Crumbly.
No, not him. He brought up his name.
Kevin Eubanks.
No.
Lee Smith.
No.
Adam Grist.
I don't think it's that.
I'm going through all of them.
You said it. You said his name. I'm like, yeah, that's the guy. Maybe just top brass.
Oh, Michael Bell?
Michael Bell.
Yeah.
Michael
he's
Bell.
CFO. He's big cheese.
I think it was Michael. You know what? I don't even know who. And I apologize for that. I meet a lot of people, run across a lot of people. But I was with him and Dan Garcia, and I talked to him and I said, how often do you guys come out here? Because I see a lot of companies now. I mean, I see more companies in a more intimate way, I'd say, than just about anybody. Because when I visit companies, somebody that might have me beat is like on the engineering side or sales side or something like that. But I'm not there. I don't have a motive when I'm on these sites. I'm just there. I try to be a fly on the wall because that's how I can capture the work. I just want to capture what the heck's going on. I don't want it to look any different than it does yesterday when I wasn't here, tomorrow when I'm not here. And I see how they interact with everybody, and it's unique. I mean, I remember Dan Garcia to this young Hispanic guy, Yamame, here's my phone number. He's talking to him in Spanish because he's bilingual, and he's telling him to call him. Like, here's my cell phone number. And you guys are a big company. Yes. You guys are a big deal. Yeah. And this is the guy just saying, and this guy's a laborer. Just call me anytime. Yeah. And like that right there is so special, but so rare. And I asked them, how often do you guys come out? And they're like, oh, we're like, our executive team's out in the field every day. And they looked at me like I was a dumb question. I'm like, well, that's not very common, guys. I'll just say that. Like, you don't see that very often. For a certain company I used to work for that also had yellow and black as their theme, we saw the senior execs once. And when they came out, it was like, don't talk to them. Like, they're just here. We'll make sure it's buttoned up. Well, they'll put their stamp on it. They go away. Cool. Yeah. There was no relationship there. There was no desire to actually get to know you. They were coming in from, flying from HQ to make sure we were doing our jobs. Just get in line, do what you need to do. That's that.
Yeah. That's not Dan Garcia.
No, that's not C.W. Matthews. That's not the whole organization.
Yeah. Dude, just to give you one little, he came with me to a recruiting event a couple months ago. And, he's just talking to these young people, and never once will he say who he is and what he does. And which is so inspirational that he has such a servant heart, and it's not about him. Yeah. And so I remember he was talking to this kid for a minute, and then he had to go and take a phone call or something, and the kid was still around their table, and I went up to him and said, "Do you have any idea who you just spoke with?" He's like, no, he didn't tell me who he was. And I told him, that's the president of the entire company. That's you know, he's like kind of choking. What did I say? Did I say the right thing? You know, and that for me to have that example of that servant, you know, it's not me, it's we.
Sure.
And he has never flaunted a title, and that's inspirational, not just for me, but for everyone at our company. It's like, okay, all right, I'm going to outserve him today. Mm-hmm. I'm going to outserve him today. You know, it's awesome. It's a family.
Yeah. Well, and even the title thing, it just changes the dynamic. It's like I said, when I'm out in the field, I try to be a fly on the wall. Mm-hmm. But every time I'll be talking to some guy, he has a grade rod or a GPS. He's checking points or whatever it is. It's grade checking, and I'll he'll look up at my name, Aaron Witt, and then he'll look up at the company name, Build Witt, and then you can see it connect in their head. Yeah, and I'm like, damn it, and they're like, so it's your company, and I'm like, I sometimes. I'm just like, damn it. Like now I have to walk this back because we were having a great conversation. And now all the attention's now on me. I don't want it on me. I promise. And so I'll often just say it's my family's company. Oh. Yeah. And then it goes back to where it was before. I'm like, oh, that was a close one.
Yeah.
I can just get back to doing my job. Mm-hmm. It throws things off. Yeah. But that's with C.W. Matthews. I'm not blowing smoke. Mm-hmm. Dan's not even here.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll listen to this. I don't know, but it's truly different. What if I am a 10-person organization, mm-hmm. and I'm sitting here listening to this and thinking, you know what? That's good for you, C.W. Matthews.
Sure.
You know, how many people do you have? Like 1,500?
1,500.
So 1,500 people. Mm-hmm. And you have 27 asphalt plants, and you work all over Georgia, and you have all this money, and you can go hire someone like Jeremy to go into high schools and buy simulators. Like, mm-hmm. I'm still making payments on my skid steers here.
Yeah.
What? But I still need people like everybody else. Mm-hmm. What can I do?
Find the school. Find the teacher. That if you are a 10-person company, 10-employee company, that means you're probably working in a certain area of a certain state. Mm-hmm. And that's your bread and butter. Start off, find one school, mm-hmm. one high school, and that has a teacher that actually cares about getting their students into industry. Mm. Because through the years, I have met a lot of construction teachers. I don't want to use the word a lot. I've met construction teachers that are just checking the box. Sure. And they teach for paycheck, not for passion. And if you can find that one high school, that one teacher, don't waste your time with the principal. Don't waste your time with the school superintendent, because 99% of the time they have no stinking clue of what's going on in career tech and construction. Find that one school and adopt it, and offer internships, offer summer internships, work-based learning during the school year. Find a way with your insurance to intern a 17-year-old, because in Georgia you can.
Sure.
But every state's different on their rules. Do whatever you can, jump through whatever hoop you can. You have to get a 17-year-old. Maybe they can't be in this certain area or operate this certain thing, whatever. Jump through it. Jump through the hoop. Get them in early, because there's power in the first career impression. Mm. When a student, that's why so many sons follow in their dad's footsteps.
Yeah.
Because that's what there was an example to them. That the first impression is so powerful, and when they have no clue about what career looks like, maybe they didn't have a dad that showed them a path of any sort. So, but get them in, and from 17, they're seeing the foreman, and they're seeing all the other guys on the crew. They're seeing the truck that the foreman drives. Oh, they see the truck that the superintendent. Oh, the general superintendent is. Oh, and they're hearing about. Oh, yeah, I got this bass boat, and I've got this, and they're, all those things that are sexy that are like, oh yeah, I want to have that, and I get to have all that by playing in the dirt and operating this cool equipment.
Sure.
And heck, yeah.
Even if they don't permanently join the industry, then they're still just a cheerleader for the industry, which we need all day long as well. And it's so funny. People talk about their first job all day long. It was my first job. It does leave a significant impression. How do I even get in touch with the teacher? What are the mechanics of that?
There's a little hidden secret. It's called Google.
Oh yeah,
and it blows my mind because you would be surprised how many times I get that question.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm throwing you softballs here.
No, this is great. This is great. So it's like, okay, my work is in this city. All right, what high schools are in this city? And then you just go to this high school's website, go to their career tech page, because typically every high school has a career, and Georgia's CTAE, which stands for Career Tech and Agriculture Education. But most states, like up north, it's just CTE, Career Technical Education. So go to their CTE little tab on their website, and you'll pull it down. If they've got a decent website, that'll say, oh, well, they've got automotive. Oh, they've got culinary arts. They've got healthcare. Oh, they got welding. They got construction. They got maybe that new heavy equipment program that we're piloting. And then, okay. And then you find out they might have the instructor linked right there of who teaches that class.
Sure.
And if not, you might have to do some more digging.
Yeah.
And go through the faculty list of all the teachers in the school and find the one that teaches the class on construction or welding or heavy equipment or whatever, and then get their email address, shoot them an email, and understand that it might go to their junk email, or so you got to be persistent.
Yeah. I'm saying this sarcastically, when I emailed them, I never heard back. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah.
Really? You emailed them once and you didn't hear back? Yeah.
Yeah.
Try, like, if you've emailed them 17 times and you haven't, okay, maybe, but come on.
Yeah. And be persistent. I mean, you could even call the school or
just walk into the office.
Walk into the stinking front office and say, hey, I've got something here. Maybe it's just a letter with a gift card for a Quick Trip or something like that you got. Hey, just want to give this to the construction teacher and just let him know, hey, we're a local business. We'd love to partner with your program. I'd love to come and talk to your students about careers, because in Georgia we have something that's kind of special. It's through a company called Construction Ready. And I think it's called the Impact Fund. So basically, each teacher gets a certain amount of money every year for the number of students they put into the industry.
Interesting. Oh, there you go.
So, I mean, we've had teachers in Georgia make an extra, $10,000.
Oh, wow.
Because they're putting them in industry. So, if you're listening to this and you're in Georgia, you need to be partnering with every industry that you can, construction industry, to get students in, because it's gonna help them in their wallet. So yeah.
Last question. If I'm a Traco operator, for example, what can I do to help out?
From what perspective?
I'm not an employer, so I can't go and offer internships to kids, and that's not, I can't do that. But what can I do to help bring young people into the industry and to grow people within the industry as someone working in the industry?
Yeah. I think a lot of things, young people are so social media right now. I see so many people that are taking ownership of what they do, of, hey, I'm digging this, whatever. And maybe it's a selfie of them operating the equipment or video. It's just something that shows, man, what I do, I love.
Yeah.
I love doing, and trying to just talk to young people. Maybe it's young people at their church, or fill in the blank of a family. Say, hey, you wanna come and on a Saturday or something, and I'll let you sit in the seat of my excavator. This is what I do all day. It's the thinking has to change. It has to go from a sprint to a marathon. It is seed plant. We didn't get to this place overnight, and we're not getting out of it overnight.
Sure.
So from the person who is the operator to the person who's the president has to have that mentality of, okay, it's going to take a minute, and we got to plant seeds, and we got to take the time and have the passion and the heart to continue to water those seeds every year. And before long, the more and more people, companies that are doing what we're doing, and other companies like us, then I think in a few years, we're going to really see some amazing fruit, especially from the heavy equipment simulator program. So
I think so.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming up.
Yeah,
I appreciate you giving us some of your time.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll see you soon.